Well, Christmas time, Christmas miracles.
Yeah.
The Saw video is up.
Yeah.
That's very
It's doing
Christmassy.
okay.
Yeah.
It's got like 8 likes.
Does it really?
Yeah, and then there was one person
cool.
commenting who said that Spiral was underrated. So
I did see
great.
that.
I'm glad that they
I did see that.
got the message of our video.
Did you watch any of it yet?
I watched a chunk of it. Yeah,
Okay.
I like the. I watched the reel that you posted on TikTok with the
Okay.
Hanna-Barbera sound effects.
There's another one of those in the video.
Is there?
Too. Yeah.
Okay.
It's our third time doing this. It's our third go around. It's weird that we've been doing the show that long.
Yeah. Well, last year was Muppet Christmas Carol.
Mm-hmm.
What did we do the year before? Did we do
Jack Frost.
Jack Frost? That's
did the-
right.
Did 2 Jack Frost
Double
like back
feature.
to back. Yeah.
Jack Squared.
Yeah.
That is right. That was our first in-person one too. Was the Jack Frost one?
Oh, was it really?
I'm pretty sure it
okay.
was.
That was
I remember I worked a kitchen job, so like I had to request that Saturday off, and I think I got up at like 8 o'clock in the morning to get all of the gear around.
Because we did those like in the morning.
Yeah.
Or we did that one in the morning or whatever.
Yeah, because I had to go to like
Earlier.
Chloe's dad's Christmas party that night.
Oh.
So like we had to record at like 10, and that was when Dagan like watched the movie in his car on the way there.
That's right. That's right. And now it's. Then there were 2.
There will be 2.
As it has been for a while, but
Yeah.
people don't like talking to us.
We're just a little. I don't know. I'm feeling a little low T right now. I don't know why.
I'm just getting a bit of that seasonal affective disorder.
Yeah.
I guess.
It was like 60 yesterday too, which is weird.
Yeah.
It feels wrong.
Yeah. Really. Yeah, it was really warm yesterday. That was crazy. It's cold. It's cold again now.
Yeah.
Look at this. This is what you do. You just slip into the Midwest banter. We're just like
Talking about the weather. Yeah.
yeah.
Tried and true. Works every time. Cold one today.
Yeah. This is despite the warm temperatures, this is the coldest of opens that we've maybe ever done.
Zing. Yes.
Eat shit. Us.
Yeah, I just gotta stop watching Jeopardy because that's totally consumed every. That's all my media now.
That's all your That's all your other.
That's all. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it. In all of our like dinner, like downtime.
Yeah.
That's all we've been watching. It's insane.
Yeah.
We stopped at Futurama. We did get to like the season with Jurassic Park.
Just like 3
or 4 or something like that. Yeah, I think 4 might be the first one post cancellation. The Bender's Big Score.
No, I think they did 4, and then there was the
Oh, okay.
cancellation, and then.
But we were watching an episode, and then the little preview in the bottom right was like up next, and it was Jurassic Park, and we were like, no, we skipped over it.
Oh damn!
And then Jeopardy has consumed our life.
I just had busy week. Like I didn't get to Die Hard until today.
Yeah,
I've had to like pick up more shifts at the theater because the hours pick up for like the Christmas time.
Oh yeah.
And one of the managers is on maternity leave, so
I gotcha.
it's kind of like extra. So I'm just losing like less and less free time. Well, also bringing up the Saw video again.
That's a great burden that's off your chest now.
Yeah. But like I finished it. I would say like I finished like going through.
I was just making sure. I'm just paranoid about everything. I was just making sure the recorder was going.
Oh, okay. I like finished like going through the whole thing, and then I did go through it again.
I noticed there were a few like cuts where it just like
I did that a lot. Anytime that there was like extended pauses or like any bits where we're just basically just
rehashing the plot,
because there was a lot of like, okay, then what happens in this one? Oh,
Trying to
this
remember.
one's this detective and he finds these people. There's a lot of that.
yeah.
But I finished that on like Sunday or Monday last week, and then this entire week I was just like I rendered it like 4 different times, just trying different formats, and also just like I would render it and I'd be like, oh, I fucked up one little thing, and then. But in the end, it's good because I actually didn't do the green tint until the final render. I was
gonna say it does look good with that green tint.
It just occurred to me at the very end that I was like, I should do that, right?
Yeah.
Like it looks a little like plain otherwise.
No, yeah, I thought that was a great touch. Just kidding about that cold open. We rock.
Yeah,
we rule.
Yeah. Go watch the Saw video on our on our YouTube channel.
I'm very surprised they never did like a Saw Christmas special. I think that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Just like a guy wakes up like
a Christmas themed
thing.
Yeah. Like I could see like a body where like he like interlaces Christmas lights under the skin or something like that. So
yeah.
or something like that. So they like light up like a Christmas tree.
Yeah. Or like he's like completely wrapped in tinsel and the tinsel's like gonna be set on fire or something.
Oh yeah. Or kind of thinking of like what they do in one of the episodes of Hannibal, where like I'm thinking of like a Christmas angel, so they do like the angel wings.
Yeah. with the little like hooks that they put on ornaments.
Yeah.
So when the wings tear out, there's ornaments on the end of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
You said Happy Holidays instead of Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jigsaw's a war on Christmas guy.
Yeah.
Speaking of the war on Christmas.
The war during Christmas or something.
There's a war over whether this is or is not a Christmas movie.
Not in my mind. I think it's pretty fucking cut and dry.
Yeah, easy.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to ThereWillBeDuds. This is episode 129. 8 or 9. Usually when we're on the computer, I can look at at the Google Doc and it'll just show me. But
there's 128. No, 129.
129.
Because 128 is Medea's Christmas.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's that one. Yeah. And I'm your co-host TJ, and with me as always,
I am Nick.
And as always, we watched a movie this week. It's our Christmas week, so we watched a Christmas movie. And that Christmas movie is Die Hard from 1988, directed by John McTiernan. It follows NYPD officer John McClane as he's visiting his wife and children, estranged wife and children in LA for a Christmas party. They're kind of trying to work out their marital issues, and just so happens to be the same time a group of bank thieves disguising themselves as terrorists decide to, well, not bank thieves, just thieves, take over the building and take hostages, and it's up to John to kind of save everybody and defeat the terrorists. So, it's an action movie. There's some bad guys, and he's got to shoot the bad guys.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it just so happens to be, I think Christmas Eve is the idea.
It's
I
Christmas
think
Eve.
Because like the day, like the morning at the end or whatever is supposed to be like Christmas morning or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. And yeah. So it's our movie this year.
This was my second time watching this movie.
Okay.
We watched it last year. I think we watched it last year right before we recorded Muppet Christmas Carol. Because like we talked about Die Hard at the end of that movie.
Yeah, okay.
Or that episode. Yeah. And it's funny that we're doing Die Hard this year.
Perfect.
But yeah, I actually got a chance to see it on the big screen at a theater, which was always...
That's pretty cool.
It's always a treat. I love when I can see older movies, as they're meant to be seen or whatever. And yeah, it was a great time. It's kind of the textbook example of like a perfect action movie.
Mm-hmm. I think so. Like, yeah.
Like, I was really trying to think on the car ride back, like, what could I nitpick, if anything? Because it is 2 hours and 12 minutes, and usually, like, action movies like this tend to be, like, tight 90s. That's kind of the realm that those movies exist in. So this one's a little bit longer, and really, I was struggling to think of anything that I thought could be cut.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of flawless in that way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think the same thing is like every time I watch this, how like perfectly paced it is.
Mm-hmm.
There's like, yeah, the fact that it is over 2 hours and yet it's always moving. Things
Yes.
are always happening. You're always getting new information. Like half of the cast of characters you don't even meet until almost an hour into the movie.
Yeah.
Like Al doesn't show up until like 45 minutes in or something. And then you've got Johnson, his like superior, and then the FBI guys don't show up until after that.
Right.
There's the news guy, Thornburg, who like
Yeah.
becomes like this bigger character.
Maybe think of like Network.
Yeah.
A little
kinda.
bit, the way that they were just like, oh, we got to get on this scoop. And then she comes in and she's like, I've only got his home address, the names of his wife and kid. They're like real slimy, like Nightcrawler type characters.
And like how he like weasels his way into like talking to their children or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He threatens to call like ICE or whatever, like the
Yeah, I forgot what he called it.
INS or
INS or
yeah,
something. Yeah, I
but
don't
basically
know
it was
what
like,
that
I'm gonna
is.
get you deported if you don't let us in.
Yeah.
It's like cool move, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, but as far as that, like, I mean, there's not much in general that I can really. The only like nitpicks are just that. It's just little things that I'm like personally like, but even that, it's like not really like, it's not a mistake or an issue. It's just something that like, well, okay, like for example, this isn't the only movie that does it, but something that like, it just like, it always breaks my suspension of disbelief. When people like fall from a height and are able to just grab onto a ledge.
Yeah.
And there's the part where he's like in the vent shaft.
Is
and
that
he's
when
like
the gun is
Yeah.
like slowly bending?
Yeah, and it slips and he like reaches for the one, misses it, falls like 10 more feet, and then just boom, grabs it. It's like, no, your arms would like be ripped out of their sockets. Like,
yeah, like the inertia and the gravity affecting your body, you would be.
yeah, it's like the most unbelievable part. Second most unbelievable part of the movie to me. The most unbelievable part to me is that cops would willfully go into an active shooter situation.
Well, maybe they watched Die Hard and they saw what happened because they all just got
Yeah.
they all just got sniped.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like yeah, it's perfectly paced, and it also does a very good job of doing like visual storytelling.
Okay.
At the very beginning, when Hans Gruber and those guys show up, there's hardly like any dialogue whatsoever. They just show up and they're like very methodical in how they do it. And I feel like a lot of movies like these days, there would be a ton of dialogue peppered in there. So the audience knows like, okay, yeah, we have to break into this part and we're going to do this. And like they basically explain the entire process for no reason, if only to just tell the audience exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not a revelation for a movie to do something like that. It's not like this, like, whoa, what an idea, visual storytelling. But
A lot don't.
but seeing how most movies these days have all of that in there, I'm like, oh yeah, this is nice. I'm just watching, like, I'm actively watching and like understanding without being directly told. And it's nice.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I think that adds to the I don't know, like there's this kind of almost like mystery. There's like this question over like, what are these guys like doing?
Yeah.
Like, and then it's like, oh, they're just thieves. And like that's kind of like, oh, okay, that's fun. That's like, oh, we thought they were terrorists, but then they're like, we need the explosives. And the whole time you're like, why do they need the explosives? They're going to blow something up. And then like you don't find out until the very end or near the very end that it's like they're trying to mask they blew up the roof to make it look like they all died.
Right.
You know, the whole like,
Why'd you have to nuke the whole building, Hans?
Well, when you steal $600, you can just disappear. When you steal 600 million, they will find you unless they think you're already dead.
They divert what you think it's going to be too, because you almost think they're like, I was almost just like, wait, are these guys like eco terrorists? Like they're like like there's like they're anti-capitalist or they're anti like greenhouse gases, like they're climate change advocates, but at the end they're just like, no, we're just thieves. Because there's that part where Gruber is like kind of like doing the negotiation part, and maybe think of Dog Day Afternoon actually, when like the FBI showed up and they're like, yeah, just kill the power. That's step one, because that's what they do in Dog Day Afternoon too.
Oh yeah,
and they're just like
that's
sweltering
right, yeah.
heat in there. But he on the phone, he's like, all right, we need to go. You guys. To meet our demands, you need to release these guys who are political prisoners in like Indonesia, and these 5 people in the Philippines. And the other, I like how the other guys are just like,
he says Asian Dawn, and then Carl's like, Asian Dawn, and then he's like, I read about them in Time magazine.
yeah. And it's like, oh, these are all just MacGuffins, like busy work for the FBI.
Yeah,
because it's like they know exactly how these things work, so they're just like, yeah, we're just gonna like jangle keys in front of their face while we like actually execute our plan.
Yeah, I like that. That I made the joke to Cleo, and I was that there's the part where Jonathan's like, he's like on the radio with somebody. He's like, yeah, Asian Dawn. DAWN, and I was like, how else? I was like, did they think it was DON, like Asian Don?
Like a mafia crime
Either
boss.
that or just an Asian guy named Don.
Like one guy named
Don. Or a group of terrorists who are all named Don and are Asian.
I'm Don number 1. But the other thing about this movie is like all the characters are so great. Like there isn't really any like character that's not. There's no like pointless characters. They're all like fleshed out, and they don't. Again, it's like basic screenwriting.
Yeah,
they're just like good characters that aren't just constantly explaining traits about themselves.
It's very like a movie that I think of that is completely different, like when you watch them or whatever. But I have like a lot of this similar sort of praise for or whatever is The Matrix, the first Matrix.
Yeah.
Where it's like another, I mean, I said this back when we did that episode, like that's also like a perfect action movie. Wouldn't really trim anything from it. And also it's like both of these have like a main character, but they're also ensemble movies.
Yeah.
You have a central main dude, but you have so many other memorable characters who, like you said, are like fleshed out. There's Holly, there's Ellis, there's all of the terrorists, like not just Hans, like Carl is a pretty fleshed out like side villain. The other ones get their moments, like Theo, the dude in the with the glasses.
Oh, I love I love him. He's a fun character.
Oh my god, the quarterback is toast.
Argyle. Yeah.
Yep. All the the two oh wait, I said Johnson. Those are the FBI guys. Who am I thinking of? I'm thinking of Robinson, the guy from the Breakfast Club.
I knew I recognized him from somewhere.
Yeah. There's so many dudes who like all of these guys are like I have seen in at least one or two other like 80s movies, because the white Johnson is in the Goonies and he's in Maniac Cop 2 and 3, which I saw earlier this year.
So the first guy in the plane that he talks to that tells him to like take his shoes and socks off in the hotel room, I've seen that dude.
Oh, he has a really familiar voice. I'd say that. I could check, but
yeah, because I could not figure out who he was, but I feel like I had that exact same experience last year where I watched this and I looked it up. I was like, oh, it's that dude. And I think he was in something else that I saw.
Okay.
Ernest Saves Christmas.
Oh.
That's where I recognized him from.
Who is he in that?
I think he's he's like and he's not the Hollywood guy, but I think he's the guy, he calls him like Santos.
Okay.
I think
that's funny if that's it, because we watched that last year.
Because I think I had that that same Robert Lesser as Marty Brock.
Huh. No, yeah, that name definitely does sound familiar. Yeah.
The author's rude agent. So the guy that like he writes the books.
Yep.
his agent is him.
Okay.
And I bet if you go in the Muppet Christmas Carol episode or the Ernest Saves Christmas,
Probably say the same
I will
thing.
have this exact same conversation.
Yeah.
Where I was like, I watched Die Hard and I recognized this dude.
Yeah.
And I had the exact same experience all over again.
Yeah.
But even him, I really like that opening scene with him because, I don't know, maybe this is like reading into it, but he kind of gives him that advice. It's like, when you land and, to get your bearings, just really take your shoes and socks off and like do the toe curls.
Make fists with your toes.
Make fists with your toes in like wherever you land. And he does that. And in my mind, I was almost kind of reading that as like, because he's like, oh, it works. And I think the whole movie was him basically like coming to terms with like staying in California with his wife. And like, this is kind of what he needs to do. And at the end of it, I think he kind of makes that decision. But I kind of read that scene as like, oh, this is him like getting his bearings in this new foreign place. Because initially, there's a couple points where he's just like, some guy like kisses him on the cheek and he's like, oh, California.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
A bunch of homos.
Yeah, I know.
Just very like, oh, God.
Yeah.
Who's going to offer me a green tea next?
Yeah. It also is a setup to him being barefoot the whole movie like that disadvantage because like it that is such a like that like plays into the movie so much, him being barefoot. But I could see like, how do you get him to take his shoes and socks off and it not be like weird?
Yeah.
Like have a reason for it. And
the exact moment he's doing that and he's like, this works. As soon as he does that, Hans Gruber shows up, takes the place hostage. And even the one time he has the opportunity to get shoes, they're from that dude whose feet are too small, and he's like, I guess this won't work.
Yeah. Another one I wanted to say was Uli, the Asian Don, the Asian henchman. Because he's in a ton of stuff. He's in Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh.
He's Genghis Khan in the first Bill and Ted.
Oh, awesome.
He pops up in the Roland Emmerich Godzilla. He's in Lethal Weapon. He's in a pretty like kind of famous scene from that one too.
Yeah, I felt kind of sad when he got blown away at the end.
Yeah. I did see that like his there's surprisingly a lot of like improvised stuff in this movie.
Yeah, I was reading that.
And one of the things was him like eating the candy bar, and I guess the screenwriter said that made him live longer because like he was originally gonna die there, but then like he liked that, so he like gave him some more screen time or something like that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
There was another improv that I read about with I think Alan Rickman when Ellis calls him Booby.
Yeah.
Hans, Booby, I'm your white knight.
Also, when he gets dropped, I guess they like said they were gonna count to 3, but then the guy dropped him on 2 to also get like a more genuine reaction from him, I guess.
Because in the finale, like,
because he actually did like it said like a 40-foot drop. Like they actually dropped him like that's what it said onto like a like a big crash pad thing or whatever. But it's like that's far for
that would be. I think as an actor, like I don't know, stuntmen are obviously used in these places for a lot of that, but like. I think that would be so much fun to be dropped from like a building, like, just free fall
onto a crash pad.
Yeah,
that'd be well, yeah. But I've always wanted to like do a stunt jump onto a crash pad.
That'd be so much fun.
Yeah,
because like the way that he falls at the end, he's like really. It looks super real. A lot of this looks super real. Like if they use CGI or any sort of digital stuff, it was imperceptible to my eye. Like the first time the C4 goes off, it looks so cool.
Yeah.
When he like pushes the chair down the elevator shaft and you see that exterior shot in the windows, like all just like boom, 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 boom. It's so cool. It looks so good.
Yeah. Yeah. So like they did all the explosions on like miniatures.
Oh, okay.
And then they matted them to the actual stuff. So there are real explosions. But, they didn't actually blow up the real, like, buildings in LA or whatever. So they had, like, all these miniatures. And there was a really interesting one with the one in the elevator shaft, like, how they made that work was they did a like forced perspective.
Oh.
Which like the Lord of the Rings is known for, where like because the elevator shaft where they recorded the explosion was a miniature, but then Bruce Willis is like standing there at the top.
Yeah.
So to make it look not weird, they had to change the like camera speed as the explosion happened, like when they were recording it, or else it would like approach too fast. Oh. So it's actually like slowing down like in camera or whatever.
Oh, that's
that explosion
wild.
is like slowing down, but that makes it look like the same speed the whole time because it was forced perspective or something like
That's
that. It's like a big
crazy.
like optical illusion thing.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. I was thinking this before I read the little trivia bit about this, that how this movie incorporates like all these things in the building. And I read that the writer or the like all the interior stuff was on like an unfinished building on the studio lot that they just filmed in. And he would like get ideas from just like walking around. So I feel like that's like why, but it's such a good use of the location of the setting. Like, like from like the shooting the glass out and stuff, you have like the rolling cart that they get on when he's fighting with Carl or whatever. And then
it's like John McClane has to improvise through all of these scenes, and that feels real, and it's because they sort of improvised with like the location and the props and the stuff just sitting around. Yeah.
And it like I like that like this location has such a, the lobby where most of the people are held and stuff. And then it feels like a very, for the late 80s, like modern, upscale location, right? And that serves to have these some kind of like oddball elements to it. Like the thing that I always like key to every time is the little zigzag table where it's where Hans takes Takagi where he kills him. Yeah. But then John gets like cornered there by I think it's Mateo is the one who he like gets up on the table and he's like then John,
you're on a table.
Yeah, he's, no more table.
You are done. No more table. Where are you going, pal?
It's like if it was just a normal table, like straight on or whatever, you wouldn't get this. But because it's like this weird zigzag, you get that shot of John underneath, like snaking, trying to avoid bumping the chair legs to like give his location away. And it's like things like that are like, that's a really weird thing, a really weird item in this location, but it fits that setting and it makes the action scene that comes later more exciting, more interesting.
Yeah, it's very like that time period where like I don't know if there was like a renaissance in like business, ergonomic, I'm synergistic like architecture.
Yeah. Like 80 like cocaine architecture or something.
Yes.
That's
like,
makes you think of, like,
like Wolf of Wall Street, American Psycho, like that sort of.
I'm sure there is some architecture like terminology for that, but I don't know enough about it to know.
Next time you have a chance to kill someone, don't hesitate. Thanks for the advice.
And I guess kind of on that same kind of train of thought, is like it also has a really great sense of space, this movie.
Yes.
You kind of know where everything is in relation to each other. The amount of times that they mention like this floor, this is where they are. And having all these visual keys to like remind you like, oh, okay, he's back here again. Like the nudie calendar that he like comes back to a couple times.
He cycles all the way through, just barely squeaks it out, barely survives, comes back, and he almost does like oh yes,
yeah,
like what a sight for sore eyes. Yeah, because then you get the rooftop, you get the unfinished area where he kind of hangs out for a while when he's talking to Al, and then there's like the glass window pane kind of like
office
room
area thing. Yeah.
It's such a great scene when Hans realizes, because like they again with the visual storytelling, when Hans meets up with him and he's like, oh, you haven't actually seen me in person, so if I disguise my voice, you'll think that I'm just some like Nakatomi like executive guy.
Yeah.
But there's a shot where Hans looks and sees that he's barefoot, and you're like, huh, you'd almost dismiss that as like, yeah, he's just realizing how crazy this dude is. And then later that comes into play when they're like, shoot the glass.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, it's just, there's really good setups and payoffs.
Yep.
Especially at the end, which I don't know, I guess I appreciated it even more the second time around. But, you know, when John shows up and he sees his wife and Ellis, Ellis is like the perfect, like, 80s cocaine, like, douchebag.
Yeah.
Like that scene where he's like, you know what, your husband's taking too long. I know how to negotiate.
Yeah.
It's so great. But you know, he's like, yeah, you should tell him about the watch. Was it him or the company that got her? Was it him?
I'm not sure.
He's like,
It
it's
might
a
have been him.
Rolex.
Yeah, it might have been him. Yeah, and that's
then
what they. Yeah,
that's what he unfastens the clasp, and that's what sends Hans Gruber plummeting to his death. That's a great setup and payoff.
yeah. Yeah, and then you got like Al with his,
Which
I shot a kid.
Which I don't know if we commented on this last year, but I don't know. It's very strange to me that like the take a penny, leave a penny like situation for him to overcome
His
shooting
fear
a
of
kid
shooting
is
people.
killing another person, but like being justified in doing it this time.
Right. I mean, yeah, the one in the movie is definitely very justified when he
Right.
does it, but I mean, yeah, the current state of like police in the US, right? Like you really got to like these are movie cops. They
Yeah.
are not real life cops. Like John is an NYPD cop and he is like the only one worth respecting. Yeah, they're basically Jedi. They're as unrealistic as lightsaber wielding Jedi
Yeah.
Knights or whatever.
The humor in this movie I was gonna make a note of too was like it was a lot funnier than I remember it being like the last time I saw it. But the Johnson and Johnson, the two FBI guys, that it's just like he's like wrong one because like one's a black guy, one's a white guy, and then like there's the one part where it's like I'm Johnson and this is Detective Johnson, and there's like a beat and he's like no relation.
Yeah.
This is Agent Johnson. No, the other one.
Did you read about I read like the synopsis of the book that it's based on?
Oh, I might have done that last year, but I didn't read it this time.
So the movie, I mean, I haven't read the actual book, but I feel like the movie is better for the changes that it made. But it's
Oh.
basically like it's like when I think of like you hear like Disney, the Disneyfication of like The Little Mermaid.
Sure.
How like the original Little Mermaid, I think it's like Hans Christian Andersen's story, like she like dies or whatever.
Is it,
You know,
well, I feel like a lot of those tend to be like much darker, like like Grimm's fairy
That's what I
tales.
was gonna, because some of the other Disney movies are Grimm's fairy tale ones, and they're like much dark.
Yeah.
So in the book, he's visiting his daughter. So he's like a little older, and he has an adult daughter who's like sleeping with Ellis. I guess that's his like relation, and I think that's maybe why they made him kind of like sort of coming onto Holly in the movie or whatever.
Yeah.
The villains are actually terrorists.
Okay.
But they changed that in the movie because they thought that would be a little too like serious.
Sure.
And like the movie like knows what it is, it's
Yeah.
not a super serious thing, and basically it ends with when he kills Hans, who I think has a different name, but he kills Hans and he falls out the building. He catches her watch,
Yeah.
but she falls. So his daughter dies in the book.
Whoa.
And he gets way more fucked up to where he's basically like crippled at the end of it. Yeah.
My God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh.
Could you like this movie would just it would be I don't think it would be like if they had just kept that. Could you imagine this like it would just not fit the tone of this movie at all if it's just
Yeah, because like the way that it ramps tension up to that final moment, and then like in the last 20 minutes it just becomes super bleak.
yeah.
Because at the end it's like Argyle shows up and they get in the limo and they go away, and it's like what Christmas song plays at the end? It's the weather outside.
Yeah,
it's like it has a very upbeat ending, but instead it's just like, Mr. McClane, you're never gonna walk again.
Yeah.
It's like, and your wife is dead.
Yeah.
Like, the weather outside is frightful.
Yeah. Yeah, the book's like takes place on Christmas too, or like right around Christmas too. So, yeah, they do like a little I think it's maybe like a reference to what Hans says about. He's like, well, yeah, it's at their final confrontation. He's like, well, in this movie, Grace Kelly does not ride off into sunset with John Wayne. He's like, that was Gary Cooper, asshole.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what they get. They get their little Grace Kelly, Gary Cooper, like off into the sunrise, I guess.
Yeah. Very. There were a few moments like that with Hans Gruber where it was sort of like a critique of like I guess Americans, like American police, the sort of like, yeah, you think you're just John Wayne, you can, because that's kind of what makes you think that they're like I don't know if they're like Marxists or whatever, but they're like, he's like, he's talking about America using their prod to do whatever they want in the world. Well, now you're going to use your prod for my interests or whatever.
Yeah.
And he keeps calling him like cowboy, or like he even to the point where he even like tells Al that his name's Roy, like Roy Rogers.
Yeah, I was like, that's what I was thinking, but I'm like, they don't ever say that in the movie, do they? I guess it's just so recognizable that maybe I just think like,
he says something about Roy Rogers. I think.
Okay, he does. Okay.
Yeah, because I think it's during one of those scenes where they're talking about like John Wayne movies, or I think he says like, I was more of a Roy Rogers guy myself.
Yeah, I think that's what he says. Yeah.
Just another American who saw too many movies as a child. Another orphan of a bankrupt culture who thinks he's John Wayne, Rambo, Marshall Dillon.
I was always kind of partial to Roy Rogers, actually. I really like those sequin shirts.
Do you really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
I still remember the first time I saw this movie, when he says that line about Grace Kelly and John Wayne, and I was like, no, that's Gary Cooper, because he's talking about a movie called High Noon.
Yeah.
And then Bruce Willis says it's Gary Cooper, and I was like, fuck yeah, dude. I was like, I feel it made like I love watching old movies and getting those.
Yeah.
Like you think of like watching a movie now, and there's so many references that you're like, oh man, people in like 20 years, that's just gonna go over their head.
Yeah.
And that like won't go completely over people's heads, that little interaction, but like, I got something more out of it because like I knew the movie that they were talking about. Right. And I don't know, I feel like there's something else where they're referencing something more contemporary to the 80s, but I don't know, can't think of what it is.
Doesn't he there's a part where I think Gruber mentions like, you think you're Rambo, or
yeah, maybe that's it.
He does reference a couple other like he references Schwarzenegger.
Does he?
And he says Rambo. So like I guess in those in the Die Hard universe, Rambo and or Sylvester Stallone and Schwarzenegger like exist.
Yeah.
Like those properties exist.
I was thinking as it went along, like there's the there's bits where like it'll just be John talking to Al, but this is on a live line that the terrorists have, or that I keep calling them terrorists, they're not terrorists, the Germans, the bad guys, have like an open line to, and I was like, oh, it's nice of them to not like interrupt, to like just not like I was thinking like the alternative is like in between every time they like talk, it's just one of the Germans are like
yeah, like, can you guys shut up?
yeah,
Like this is supposed to be a clear channel of communication. You guys are just talking about your personal lives.
yeah. just like cutting back to them, just like rolling their eyes and like
oh,
I killed a kid.
he's like, do you know how many kids I've killed?
Yeah.
No, but it works because because Gruber is basically like on a fact-finding mission to figure out who McClane is. So he's probably like any scant details he can get. He's like,
that's true. That probably is the logical reason.
But the idea of them just like sitting there listening is just like, ugh.
Yeah.
Like a couple of teenage girls like laying on their beds with their feet kicked back, just like, yeah. So anyway, I shot a kid.
Yeah. There's when he gets to the building at the beginning, when John gets to the building and he's at like the reception desk or whatever, and they're like, oh, search for a name on this, and even this like super archaic like touchscreen, he's like, whoa,
California.
future. Like
yeah.
But he searches McClane, doesn't find her, and then he searches Gennaro, and her name shows up Gennaro, and then there's a close-up of her name. He taps on it, and in the same shot when he taps on it, it's like a split second, it changes to Gennero. I don't know why. It's like literally you see the shot as the screen, ARO, tap, ERO.
That's weird.
It's really weird, right?
Because it's
only
ERO the rest of the movie.
No,
right?
it's ARO the rest of it.
Oh,
I believe because I think she's like credited ARO.
That's weird.
Yeah,
that's really strange.
Yeah. That was kind of like what I was thinking of, like those little nitpicky things. I'm like, is that even like? That's not like I can't be like, well, you get points docked for that.
Yeah, it's like a little tiny. If that's the only slip up,
it's like, yeah, like every movie has like some mistakes or whatever.
Yeah. Like I mean, if you want to get nitpicky, apparently, during the glass scene, I guess he has like these prosthetic.
I was looking. I read that, and they don't really do many close-ups on his feet.
Yeah. And it's probably I think if you really really look, they look maybe slightly
like
above.
They said bigger or whatever.
Yeah.
Because it was like he was wearing basically like foot socks.
Yeah. Kind of like I'm gonna reference Breaking Bad, but the scene where Walt is burning the money on the little grill in his like pool, and he had
the hands.
But if you look really closely, it is extremely obvious. His hands are like Shaq's hands, like they're huge.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I've seen like the behind the scenes of that, or it's just like Bryan Cranston like
he's
holding
got
his
the big
hands
old
up
hands.
or whatever.
Like the everything everywhere hot dog fingers.
Yeah. Yeah. A moment that I picked up on that like I like remember, like I know the lines, but like I never really like paid attention to it until this time, which is weird because I have seen this movie 24 times.
Right.
I've seen this movie a lot. But there's the part where he's questioning Takagi.
Yeah.
And then Takagi's like, I told you I don't know the code. And then Theo and Carl are sitting like on the other side of the table, and Theo's like, I told you. And Carl's like, give him some time. And you're like, what are they talking about? And they don't say anything else, but after Hans kills Takagi, Carl gives Theo $1. And just from that, you get that they made a bet on if he was going to give him the code, or like if he was going to kill him or whatever. And it's just like, that's how like that kind of goes with like not necessarily visual story. I mean, it's half visual, I guess.
Yeah.
But half not. And just that and the great characterization where it's just like you just get that line from Theo and then that, and you get exactly what's happening.
Yeah, and it's like exactly the kind of like the 3 steps ahead type of guy that Hans Gruber is, where it's like, okay, well, if you tell me you don't, like I have a fail safe upon a fail safe, like different Like the fact that he's like trying to get the code when he knows that as soon as the feds get involved, they're going to kill the power,
Yep.
and that's going to open it up anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like, I didn't even notice that they have like a little side bet on if he kills him. That's awesome. That's so good.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of little like moments like that, little things, but that was a new one that I'm like, I can't believe I never really like keyed to that before this, because like I know the line, I told you, but yeah, and that was another improv too. I guess that was just something that the Carl actor like thought like, oh, we should like, just like work that into the scene or whatever.
What kind of terrorists are you?
Who said we were terrorists?
Hans is a great bad guy too.
Yeah, and
Like-
apparently like Alan Rickman was kind of worried about taking on the role because he was afraid he's going to get typecasted as bad guys, which I guess his other
Kinda
iconic role as like Snape,
Which is kind of a bad guy.
which is
yes and no.
yeah.
He like is a
complicated.
villain even though he isn't. Right.
Yeah.
He like has all the like acting wise and portrayal wise, he is top to bottom a villain, but
Yeah.
he's not actually a villain.
Right. I'm trying to think of other like big Alan Rickman roles.
I know, like I mean, a movie that came out not long after this, where he plays the bad guy, is Quigley Down Under.
Oh,
Which is like a cowboy. He plays a cowboy.
Oh,
actually,
that's
which
awesome.
is kind of funny. But yeah, he's the bad guy in that one. It's a Tom Selleck movie. It's pretty good from what I remember.
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I can't think of him like. I don't think of him as like primarily a villain. I just think of him as like a character actor, kind of.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Because he did like a handful like voice work roles
Right.
too. He's plays good guys.
Yeah.
Like Dogma and Galaxy Quest
Oh,
and stuff.
Galaxy Quest. That's a big one.
Yeah, yeah.
Love him in Galaxy Quest.
And then one of the voice roles I was thinking is he's Marvin in Hitchhiker's Guide too.
Oh, okay.
The paranoid android.
Oh. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. Yeah. I guess, yeah, Snape is a much more conflicted character. But I think he's good at playing, like, sort of, like, likable bad guys.
No, yeah, that's what I mean. Like Hans is such a like.
He's so, like, funny and charismatic. Like,
Yeah.
Like, when Ellis is, like, doing his hot shot, like, coked up deal speech, and Hans is like, oh my God, you put that all together yourself?
yeah.
Like, you're
Yeah.
a genius.
Yeah.
And Ellis doesn't even miss a beat and just rolls with it. Like, yeah, Daddy, I did figure it out,
I figure you're here to negotiate. Am I right?
You're amazing. You figured this all out already.
When Holly comes in and she's like, I have some requests or whatever, and he's like barely even acknowledging her. He's like, yeah, what idiot put you in charge? And she says, you, when you killed my boss. And he like looks up at her, and now she has his attention. And there's like this manner of which where he's still trying to be, I mean, he is like, serious, like threatening bad guy.
Yeah.
But you see these very subtle tells where like you can see that he respects her in ways that he didn't respect Ellis at all. Like he's so just like, okay, yep, with Ellis. But then her, she's like, we have a pregnant woman. She's like, don't worry, she's not due, but she needs a couch or whatever. And he's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
He has this
negotiate.
different- yeah.
She's like, can she go sit in her office on the couch? And he's like, a couch will be brought out to her. So it's like they're kind of, there's this back and forth.
And then when he says that, she's like, okay, that'll work. And he's like, there's just these so like minute like facial like twitches that he does that you can see that just add like so much to his characterization. It's so cool. And just he's very likable, even though he is a very bad guy, like objectively bad guy.
Again,
his
like
ethic or his work ethic or like his not work ethic, but like his drive and his sort of his methodology, I guess.
Yeah.
is very interesting. And
yeah, again, kind of like Sonny in Dog Day Afternoon, the relationship that he builds between like all the tellers, where it's just where eventually they're like, "Hey man, like we have to go to the bathroom. Like, can we just?"
That's what made me think of it. Is like they both have the bathroom conversation.
Yeah,
yeah.
And it's like, and in this, it's like juxtaposed with like the guy on the news that's like talking about the sort of like Stockholm syndrome relationship.
Yeah, Dennis Prager.
But I do think it was funny. It was like, I think there's one part of the movie where you see this guy and this like psychologist guy in the studio kind of like talking very like, you know, very educated, like talking about the situation. And I think it cuts back to the building and like someone's getting blown away where it's like he's talking about like almost very like step by step, this is how it works. This is like almost like it's like a textbook example.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, and then they sort of develop this, you know, symbiotic relationship, and then it cuts back and like someone's getting blown away.
Or that might be when they're like dragging Ellis's corpse out
That's
of
what
the
it
room.
is. You're right.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's like right after he dies.
Yeah. Even like those newscasters who are in like 30 seconds of the movie total are like, I know the one dude, Harvey, oh shit, what's his name? Harvey Johnson or something. It's not that, but his like IMDb page, or his like profile picture is that look that he gives Thornburg when he's like, eat it. And he's like, even eat it, Harvey. And he's like,
there's another really great moment with him where he's like trying to do like active listening.
it's the stuff with the guy, and he's like the
Helsinki
the
thing.
Stockholm syndrome developed in Helsinki or whatever, and he's like, that's Helsinki, Sweden. And then he goes, Finland.
By this time, the hostages should be going through the early stages of the Helsinki syndrome.
As in Helsinki, Sweden.
Finland. Basically, it's when the hostages and the terrorists go through a sort of...
It's like, why? Like, we didn't like need that, but you know, you yeah.
Again, it's like a little tiny thing where you know everything you need to know about this character who hardly has any screen time at all, but they're all just so perfect.
Yeah. There's even like the little, you know, to a lesser extent, but like every time he gets to the scene with Al getting the Twinkies at the gas station, and there's the guy there who's like,
he reminded me so much of like John Candy.
Oh yeah, I can see that. Yeah. And yeah, just that little like back and forth they have. I'm like, yeah, I know, I remember this guy.
All he says to him is like, "Yep."
Yeah,
and
like,
Al is just like getting mad because he's just like talking about like he's like, "No, these are for my pregnant wife," and he's like, "Yep."
Yeah, yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, I haven't brought it up because like I don't even deem it like worthy.
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to talk about this being a Christmas movie? Or do we just want to be like, no?
I'd be curious why people
don't
think it is.
I don't know.
I mean, I guess if the criteria, I think the argument would be a Christmas movie. It is like Christmas is like a major plot point.
Yeah.
Whereas this, it's sort of like it happens during Christmas. Mm-hmm. So it's like, but that's not like the focal point. It's not, but it's like not every Christmas movie has to have like elves and Santa and scenes of opening gifts in the morning or whatever.
Well, like a lot of the classics, like I think last week we talked about It's a Wonderful Life.
How that's not a Christmas movie until like the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, but somehow it is like the classic. When like this is like everything that isn't directly, you know, progressing the story. It's like there's so much fucking Christmas stuff in this. Like Ellis is listening to like a Run DMC like Christmas song. You know, when he sends God, I can't think of his name. He has like the most like American sounding name, but Carl's brother, the one that he kills and he sends down with the sweater that says ho ho ho.
Now I have a machine gun.
Yeah, and he's got the Santa hat on. He wraps him in the Christmas lights. Al is, you know, saying, Oh, the weather outside is frightful.
No, because he's singing a song. The let it is
Let it snow.
It's
let it snow,
right
and
when
then-
he's saying "Let it snow" in the body, which is no. Christmas is used. It's implemented very well in that way. Like, I mean, it obviously, like, it even ends with "Let it snow" again.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's used to comedic effect with, like, the Santa hat on the guy in the elevator, and the body getting flung out the window to let it snow.
The whole reason he is there is visiting them for Christmas. It's like there's so many references to it, even that just like, oh, he's not gonna be home for Christmas kind of lines or whatever. I don't know. It's like it's not even a question.
Yeah,
really.
I think the only reason that people doubt its validity as a Christmas movie is because there are so many people online that are like, this is the greatest Christmas movie, that people, I think, are just reflexively trying to be contrarian about it.
Maybe, yeah.
So, no, it's not.
Yeah.
But it is.
Yeah.
There's really no doubt.
Yeah.
The only real other thing I was going to mention was just like how cool some of the cinematography was, some of the shots were. Like that shot of him climbing through the ducks.
Yeah.
And when he just like it, I mean, it's the most iconic shot of the movie.
Yeah.
But just seeing it on a big screen, kind of like I got tingles a little bit because I was like, that's the shot.
Yeah.
Same with the slow-mo when Hans falls. Like the look on his face when he realizes what's happened, and he just the way that he looks up and flails is just it's magic.
I've always liked a bit that I mentioned before, but I do like the shot that's like tracking John as he's snaking under the table.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites. I do love the way the final confrontation is like lit when John like calls out Hans and he steps out and he's like he's just like illuminated by like the backlight or whatever. Man, I know I'm forgetting shots because there are a lot of like really good ones in here. Just like everything's just like it is just shot very nice. Even though like normal scenes are shot very nice.
He's even got Christmas tape on the back where he taped the gun to his back.
Right, yeah, that's how he does it.
It's a central plot point.
Yeah, that's right. Because it's packaging tape and like gift wrap. That's what it. Yeah, that's how he gets it. That's right. Yeah, yeah. It's shot by Jan de Vant. That's a. Well, it is shot by him, but it made me. That's that bit with Bill Hader and Popstar, which is like one of my favorite parts of that movie, where he's talking about how like his favorite hobby is flatlining. He's like, I call it F-lining. I got it from that movie Flatliners, shot by Jan de Vant. It's like that.
The way that he name drops the guy.
Yeah. Oh, it's so fucking funny. But yeah, I noticed that he was a cinematographer, and I immediately went to Popstar. Get to rate the sucker?
Yeah, let's do it.
It's a 10 for me. It's no question. You could. People could show me like I say like best action movie. People could be like, yeah, well, what about like the Raid movies? And I'm like, I mean, if we're talking about literally just like shooting action scenes and like what is going on, I mean, yeah, the Raid has it beat. But like if you're going like an action movie and like movie as a whole, I think this might be the best one. Like this might be my favorite action movie. Just again as an all around movie. But the Raid movies are really good if you like action. Like really, really fantastic. Some of the best stuff out there. Cause yeah, it's got it all. It's no fat to be trimmed, plenty of entertaining characters, no slow scenes, no slow nothing. It's pains me to even try to like think to like find an issue I have with this movie. It's pretty near perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's 10 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, it's a 10. That's funny that like I think last year did we both give him up a Christmas Carol?
Yeah,
a 10?
we did.
Yeah, we did.
I think that was our first one.
Yeah, our first both 10.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, this could be recency bias because I just saw it on the big screen and it was so much fun. It's such a great movie to see on the big screen. But yeah, I mean, I think maybe the only other, and I don't even know if it would be classified as an action movie, but one of my favorites is like They Live.
Sure.
Which I think has really good like fight scenes, really good story.
It's really good too.
I love Roddy Piper.
Yeah,
He's so funny. But yeah, this is like really just kind of the textbook example of how you do a movie. Like that visual storytelling is great. The characters are great. Like and the ramping up of tension where it's like you learn stuff at a pace where it doesn't feel like it gets to like a plateau and then you're just kind of plateauing and you don't ever you're etching and you don't get that, get that release.
Yeah.
Where with this, it's like stuff keeps escalating where it's just like, okay, I found the C4 and he thinks he's gotten rid of all the C4 and then he climbs up and he sees that the whole roof is lined with it. So it just that tension and the action keeps ramping up and it does it really well. So you're never bored. It's never just like dumb fight scene after dumb fight scene because they're like, how are we going to end this thing? Like it's paced incredibly well.
Yeah.
It's funny. There's a lot of like overt jokes, but there's like the joke with like the little side bet over killing Takagi, where it's like you almost blink and you miss it, but if you notice it, you get paid off for like, oh yeah, they like these guys know Hans and they know what kind of guy he is, and like they have a little side bet. So yeah, I mean it's great. It's a 10. And it is in fact a Christmas movie.
Yeah. I think what I was trying to say with like it being like the best is like I feel like if aliens or something like came to our planet or something like that, and you're like or you're just trying like somebody who's never seen movies before, and you're like, okay, here are like the movies for this genre, and if you're giving them like, I think like if you're giving them like a fantasy movie or something, you give them Lord of the Rings.
Right.
If you're giving them like a horror movie, that one's a little tougher. Like a horror movie, maybe you give them. I mean, like it's not one of. No, I'm trying to go with mine. I shouldn't have went with that. The only other one I had in the pocket was Lord of the Rings. Is like that's like the fantasy movie. Sci-fi movie is like The Matrix or Alien or something like that, and then action is Die Hard.
Yeah,
that's like what it is. I think it's that movie.
Yeah, that sort of like it's rare for like a movie to be like a genre definer that still also like holds up incredibly well, because I feel like a lot of those movies you can watch.
That's because when I said horror, I was like Halloween. I was like, yeah, but that's not like my, I don't like enjoy that with the same fervor as I do with those other ones.
It's kind of like this is the textbook example, but is it the best?
This is textbook and
it is the best.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, I did say, or I have like mentioned, I think before on the show that like I don't like that many Christmas movies, but the ones that I do like a lot.
Oh,
so
yeah.
like it makes sense that like this and Muppet Christmas Carol are both 10s.
Yeah.
Because I like them a lot. Okay,
and we're back.
So, I watched Napoleon.
I did see that you watched that on Letterboxd.
Yeah, it was good. I had I came out and like talked to some of the people in the theater, and I saw it with I go back and forth on like whether I want to like. Well, he's been on the show before. I can say his name. I saw it with James.
Oh yeah,
in town.
James! Exclamation point.
Yeah. I just don't like name dropping all of our friends just like left and right. But he's been on the show, so he doesn't get the protection or whatever.
We're doxing him now.
Yeah. But he said he really liked it, and the others did. I was just like more lukewarm on it. I thought Joaquin was good. Honestly, I'm very much I don't like a fan. I don't want to say that, but like I like like the French Revolution is a very interesting thing that I like to learn about. But it's only I kind of wish it's like 2.5 hours. I think the movie is but they get through the French Revolution stuff very quick, like the very like the meat of the French Revolution, because technically the French Revolution lasts until I mean, there's like 5 different endpoints for it, depending on like, there's like, this is kind of the ending of it. This is kind of the ending. And like one of the endings is kind of like when he's crowned emperor, when Napoleon's crowned emperor, which doesn't happen until later in the movie. But like the real fun stuff with people getting guillotined and stuff, that is like the first like 10 minutes of the movie, maybe 20. So it's over really quickly. And I'm like, oh, that's a little bummer. But you see like Robespierre, who's like a big figure in it. So that's what I like. But it's kind of starts there, like right kind of near the tail end of the French Revolution, and it goes up until I mean, I guess kind of like his death. It's like you see him on St. Helena, where he was finally exiled to. Yeah, he gets doesn't he gets exiled like twice? Yep. Yeah. He got sent to the island of Elba. Yeah. But he was able to like retain a regiment, and then after like being there for a year, he was like, I'm bored. I'm gonna go do my thing again. So he sailed back to France and reclaimed, like right away, was just like, hey guys, I love my country and you do too. So let's, make me emperor again. And they're just like, all right. Yeah, cool. Yeah, we like you too. So they make him emperor again. And then like everybody, like Russia teams up with like Britain and like Austria, because they're all like different countries at this point. But they like all team up together to just crush him finally. And that's Waterloo. And then after Waterloo, he gets exiled to St. Helena, which is like 1,000 miles off the coast of Africa. And it's like, they say like in the movie, they're like, it's basically a rock. And he lives there for a few more years. And then you get like the text at the end, like he lives like 6 more years on St. Helena and then died. And then, so you get like that kind of like wrap up, like this is what happened with this. So like, do they just drop him off on the island? Like, are there other people? It's not literally just a rock. I'm but thinking it's like Pirates of the Caribbean, where it's like, is he going to it's not strap like turtles to his feet? And like he has like a house or whatever, it's, but yeah, I mean, it's like they don't leave him any soldiers this time. They don't leave him a boat. Yeah, kind of a big mistake. Yeah, like... yeah, really. But really, as like somebody who, I guess, knows all that stuff, it was more just kind of like seeing it on screen and not much like. I think like, if the history is interesting, that's not just going to like make the movie interesting to me. It still needs to be told in a like entertaining way. Mm-hmm. As interesting and as like crazy as some of the stuff that he did and that like, was like in and about his life was, I just felt the movie was very, and like I said, I still liked it. I still came away with it like positively, but I was just kind of let down because, Ridley Scott, I generally like his stuff. He had a movie a couple years ago that like nobody saw called The Last Duel that I liked a bit. I remember seeing trailers for that movie, and I remember people getting mad about it because it was like, oh, it's about a rape, but it's like only from the men's perspective. Oh. It was like no. I mean, people saw the trailer and like read like the synopsis about it and got mad online. Oh, that's really like the only thing I knew about that. Oh, that's too bad. I didn't know. It's because it's actually really interesting how it's kind of like are you familiar? I mean, I'm sure you've heard of it, but are you familiar with like the structure of Rashomon, the Akira Kurosawa movie? No. It's kind of similar to that because it's like this woman gets like this like thief like murders this guy and then like rapes his wife or whatever. Okay. And the entire movie, and this is like The Last Duel too, is like you get like like the wife's perspective, the thief's perspective. So it like you get the first like third of the movie is the wife telling her side of the story, and then you get the scene of events, and then you go to the thief and he tells it. So and then things are different because he has a different. He's like, well, actually, it happened this way. So you see the
Right.
scene play out, and then in Rashomon you get the husband's perspective from a medium who's like channeling his spirit.
Oh.
It's like this is how I saw it, and that's kind of like how The Last Duel is like you get the same series of events told
Yeah,
three
yeah.
different ways. So you do get the woman's perspective.
Yeah.
That's one of the three. You
Right.
get hers, Matt Damon's, and then Adam Driver's.
Yeah.
So that was cool. That's a cool movie. Also like a historic based on
Mm-hmm.
true. It was the last trial by combat in England.
Right.
So it was
Oh,
the last
okay.
duel. And that was, I don't know, maybe like I enjoyed how that was structured. So that one made that more like, I feel like if that was just kind of told just linearly, or like they didn't kind of do anything interesting with that, maybe I would feel closer to how I felt about Napoleon. But like that's kind of what I mean. Like that kind of did something interesting
Yeah.
with the telling of the story that made it kind of more memorable to me. Whereas this was just series of things that happened to Napoleon, and I'm like, yep, yeah, oh yeah, and then this happens.
So it's like you got to do something more with the form to like kind of make this presentation of events.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw some reviews. I think a friend of the show, Josh, did not like this.
I saw that. Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people, or at least his review, and I think I've seen other reviews that were just like, man, Ridley Scott hates Napoleon.
Yeah. No, see, that's the stuff that I loved about this movie. It actually is surprisingly a lot funnier than I was expecting.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's played super serious, but there's so many moments where Napoleon is just like, he's like a petulant little baby. But like not super inaccurate from like historical, you
Yeah.
know, whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
viewpoints or
usually like
whatever.
those sort of leaders that amass great power but have like all these little neuroses. Like, yeah, they're gonna be like that.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, like that he gets like cucked, and then like that's the reason that he like invades countries. And like yeah, the movie kind of does like allude to that, but that's funny. I
Yeah.
think that's awesome. Like there's a part where he's like I can't remember who he's talking to, but he gets so heated, and then he's like, "You think you're so great because you have boats."
I can see Joaquin saying that.
Yeah.
And
And I think the movie is aware of that too. It's not
Yeah.
like the movie is trying to deliver, like the movie knows that is silly.
yeah,
that
and
is
it's like
comedic.
you could make a million like movies about how badass Napoleon is, and they would be the run of the mill like every other biopic about him. That's just like, yeah, he's a great leader, great like war commander guy. But I like the idea of like kind of showing these leaders as like human beings who are flawed like that. I think is more interesting.
Yeah. No, for sure. And he was, and I liked Joaquin in it. I liked his the performance is good. Joaquin is always someone to watch. But yeah, I needed a little, like I said, a little more from how it was told or whatever. We'll say the action was kind of disappointing too. I found a lot of the scenes to just be like a bunch of noise. And like Waterloo was, I guess, the most engaging, but also it went on. Here's the thing: is Waterloo was a very prolonged battle, and in the movie it feels like it takes so long, but also it doesn't feel like that much time passes in the movie. Does that make sense?
I think
like
so,
it's over like many hours.
Yeah.
Because the England is waiting for I think the Russians to show up for basically reinforcement, and it's basically once they show up it's over.
Oh, okay.
Because they have the French outnumbered.
Yeah.
So it's like if the French can knock out the British before the Russians show up, they can then take down the Russians. But if the British are still there, they have to fight both of them at once,
And they just can't.
And they can't. So it's like 10 or 12 hours is how far away the Russians are.
Oh.
So that's how long it's supposed to take, and it just doesn't feel like that, and
Yeah.
it's kind of weird. But at the same time, the battle feels very long in the movie.
Oh.
And yeah, it's just there was nothing really that interesting about it. The most interesting kind of army military part is where they go to Moscow.
Okay.
Which was a critical like kind of turning point because it's basically what got him exiled to Elba in the first place. Because they do this long march to Russia to intimidate Tsar Alexander, and when they get there, the entire city, and this happened, totally like crazy sick move by the Russians. They completely abandon the city. They go there and there's nobody there, and they burned all their food and resources. So that they got there after marching like 1,000 miles through the Russian snow, and then they have to march back on what they have. They can't even loot the city for food and resources to stock up. And he lost. It was something like it said he left France with like 600,000 men and returned 600,000 and returned with 40,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
All
it was
all
like
for like a show.
Well, it was basically like they had an alliance with Russia, and then the guy broke it, and he's like, well, he's got to bend the knee, basically. And there was a point where everybody was like, we need to turn back. We don't need to do this now. But he was like, no, we have to.
Yeah.
And then it was like when he returned to France, they were like, yeah, that was kind of an L take, bro.
Yeah. Just imagine that first guy that goes into like one of the houses and it's just like, there's nothing here.
Yeah.
And then the rest of them just slowly
yeah.
No.
That's
There's
another
nothing here.
Yeah. That is kind of like they walk into like the palace like throne room, empty. There's like bird shit like all over. There's like bird shit like you see a couple like splat, and there's like he walks up to the throne and he just kind of like slumps in it, and like bird shit like splats like on the arm right next to him, and he's like this is embarrassing for them, not me. I'm paraphrasing a little, but that's basically like what he's. Yeah, that was another like really really funny like.
I'm actually not mad at all.
Yeah, that's essentially what it is. He's like, yeah, they're actually dumb for this.
They look so stupid right now.
Yeah.
Oh, that rules.
Yeah. So, I'd see it for Joaquin.
Yeah.
And if you don't know Napoleon, it's a good way to kind of learn some crazy shit about that time in history.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
like
The only
this crazy figure.
I mean, that's like what's the Napoleon complex? You're like a crazed, like ambitious, but you're a little guy. I mean, isn't Napoleon just like average height?
I think, yeah, the whole thing with him being like short. Yeah, I think he was just like average height. That's just like a made up thing.
Just like, oh, you got a Napoleon complex.
Yeah.
I think that's more like ego driven.
Yeah, I feel like Napoleon complex is just like getting too big for your britches type thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds fascinating. Like, I wish I had the time to get more into history like that, because stuff like that, like the just going all the way there just for nothing essentially, is like, it's so funny. Like I think like even in high school where I was just like, I always thought like history was like I was like, whatever. And I think if they focused on like stuff like that, or like,
I know,
I would have been
right?
like, oh wow, that's actually like awesome how silly and funny, like ironic stuff is from history.
Instead of like agriculture.
Just just like very dry facts. Like I mean, even, I don't know, it's not necessarily like history, but like reading like Blood Meridian. Blood Meridian got me interested in like the expansion and like Native Americans, because it's like there's like a book that I've been looking for about the Comanche, because the Comanche are like the most brutal. I think they were like some of the last Native Americans that basically, like, if we hadn't invented like guns, we would never have beaten them. And it's just like hearing like what they got up to, completely like, again, I think like Native American genocide was terrible, but I think it completely contradicts like the historical version that you get, where it's just like, and then they got together for the first Thanksgiving, and then they exchanged goods, and then we genocided them. But it's like, man, if you were reading, if like they included like the stuff the Comanches did in like Mexican border, which is like just like invading like American like outposts and just like spearing their babies and just doing like horrific stuff, I think I would have been like, oh hell yeah, this rules. Like this is like, okay, I'm interested in history now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of a weird tangent to get onto. But, yeah, I haven't really. My list of things to see lately is growing. Still haven't seen anything of The Curse past like the first episode.
I did watch the first episode.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I did. Yep. Yeah.
What are your thoughts? What's the vibe?
I like it so far.
Okay. It kind of feels like a blend of like a normal TV show and Nathan For You.
Yeah.
And I think because they're doing like a reality show, that's where you get sort of that Nathan For You stuff. Like, go give that girl $1. It's like, all I have is $100 bill. And it's like he's doing it on camera. It feels kind of like that. But it is interesting to see Nathan Fielder like acting.
Yeah. 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 It's funny too, because like I feel like I see him in his like real shows, like in the character too.
Yeah.
And that like it is so like dark comedy. It's such dark comedy and so like dry. But then you also have like the micro penis scene or whatever. He's like, listen, I know you got a small dick. I do too.
He's like, did you tell your dad?
Yeah. And then they were like makeup, like cuckolding sesh. Remember that where he's got like the vibrator on her and he's like, he's just like, you see it like, you don't see it, but you can see him just like
he
with
doesn't
like
have
2 fingers.
yeah. Yeah.
Like, will Steven let me have a turn or something like that? Oh, it's very like varying for like I said, like it's that stuff is like very jarring.
Yeah.
And
yeah, well, like we watched the first episode and close, like I'm about to have an anxiety attack.
Yeah, there's some, I'm trying to think of like the worst part, like Benny Safdie's just like awful.
Yeah. Real just awful guy. It's like, no, go do that. Or like I think he was even like trying to like set up a scene only so he could like listen to their conversation.
Yeah, that was the thing with giving the girl the money that leads to the curse or whatever.
Right.
Which I feel like I mean, at this point, there's more, but you've only seen the first episode, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So we're kind of forecasting, even though I don't know. By
There's
the time
like 4
this airs,
episodes out now.
Yeah. By the time this episode is out, probably like basically the whole season will be out. But like, I'm thinking that like the curse isn't a real thing, but what the curse is going to be is because that first episode ends with him lying.
Yeah.
To Emma Stone about, I gave her the money back. I think the curse is so the curse is going to become a curse because like she's going to find out that he lied to her, and that's going to just kind of like unravel their relationship. And like, so the curse is kind of real, but it's because he lied. Like he made it real by doing that. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Where I'm thinking it's going. Yeah. But yeah, that's why he's like, oh yeah, go give the girl some money. And then he goes and does that, and then he tells the sound guy, he's like, okay, make sure his mic stays on.
Yes.
For when he goes to talk to the news lady or whatever.
Right.
And then they're like in him and that again, it's like this feels like something out of like a Farrelly Brothers thing. Or like it's kind of like a way more simplistic like slapstick thing where they're in the parking lot, Benny Safdie and the sound guy, and they're like, okay, now Okay, now we're laughing, we're talking. Okay, now get a little bit closer. Do you have signal? That seems very like slapsticky, silly comedy. Because like Emma Stone's like on the phone, but she's watching them the whole time.
Yeah. So far, very interested to see where it goes.
Like all Nathan Fielder projects, it's just I'm always looking for like what's the angle.
Yeah.
Even it not being a reality show, it being like a scripted narrative show, I'm still like, where are they going with this?
Yeah.
Is this going to change? Is it going to like flip genres at some point or something?
Yeah.
Is it going to become like really like serious or something? Or is it going to go the other way or
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, especially with like the Safdies involved too, I could almost see like it could just like have like a random sudden violence to it as well.
Something
or,
like
just
that,
like, yeah. It's really like totally unpredictable.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, maybe we'll do a further recap on that when we've watched a handful more episodes.
Yeah, when I get around to it, I don't know if it's like 8 or 10 episodes or something. Yeah, I'll get to it. I'm definitely, as long as it keeps up as good as the first episode, I'll watch the rest of it for sure.
Yeah, I've seen some people be like I can't. The vibes are just off. I can't keep up with it. Like it lost me. So I have seen some people that I think would normally love it kind of falter.
Okay.
But I mean, that first episode, I was pretty much hook, line, and sinker. Like I want to see where this goes.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
If they keep that pace, like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Next week, we got another movie to watch.
Yes.
We decided. I guess we're also doing Christmas duds for December. Christmas themed duds. So
Which you would have thought Medea was the dud.
Yeah. Nope. It could have been. We could have done some switching around, but no. Personally, I kind of enjoy it. Like I'm wondering if we should just like drop more clunkers that aren't necessarily dud movies, but just more like bad movies into the normal cup.
Oh.
I like having a movie to just shit on and not from the like I watch dud movies from a different perspective, right?
Kind of like what? The Discovery?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. That wouldn't be a fun like one to talk about as like a dud spud movie.
But it
was fun to just like riff on it.
yeah, exactly.
And this one hopefully is a good one for it. Neither of us have seen it before, but we decided to do a movie from 1987 directed by Lee Harry, Silent Night, Deadly Night, Part 2. I think we're both going to try to watch the first one as well, but we decided to do our focal point on the second one because it has a very iconic scene that
oft referenced,
probably have seen. So that's going to be our feature, our focus film next week. But we'll probably like how we did the Texas Chainsaw, I guess in reverse, but we kind of like talk about both of them. But
yeah, because I think Silent Night, Deadly Night is more serious.
Is it? I wonder if it's like a Troll versus Troll 2 situation.
I think Silent Night, Deadly Night is a much more like straightforward Christmas horror movie, and then Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2 is just unhinged and weird.
Right? Yeah.
So
that'll be an interesting like double feature. Yeah. So I guess that maybe also like Texas Chainsaw, how the first one is a very straightforward horror movie, and then the second one is, Chop Top and Dennis Hopper and stuff. Yeah. Okay, so it's oh shoot, I forgot to see where it's streaming. Actually don't know. Oh, it's on Tubi.
Of course.
Looks like it's on Tubi, YouTube, Pluto. Yeah, looks like it's on a lot of places for free. I didn't even realize that.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's on Plex. It's just on normal Plex.
Nice.
For free. Prime. Yeah, sweet. So watch it at one of those. If you don't want to be spoiled for next week's episode, these episodes come out every Wednesday at 7 p.m. EST on YouTube and Twitch in video form, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more in audio form. We also have social pages on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Again, we're posting videos sometimes exclusive to our YouTube. We just did the Saw videos we talked about earlier on the YouTube. That finally got posted. My next little project is just going to be a little highlight reel like I did last year. Where I'll do a little highlight from various streams.
Streams past.
Yeah.
Yeah, and every Wednesday after the episodes air, we're watching bad movies and playing games on the stream as well. So if you're watching this on Wednesday night, stick around. We're probably going to watch a bad movie and then play. I don't know, we've been doing Fortnite lately.
Mm-hmm.
So one of those.
Yeah. Yeah. And with all that said and done, ho, ho, ho. Now I am become Machine Gun. TJ, and with me as always.
Oh, as always, I'm more of a Roy Rogers guy myself.
Whoa.
Yeah. I'm Nick.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Merry Christmas.
Yes. Cut this part out. Don't leave this in. Now you're going to.
I was going to say, unless you cut it.